Hi, Managerial Accounting. In this video, we're going to go over different techniques that management uses to make investment decisions. So these investment decisions are for long-term assets. They're going to cost the company a lot of money. So management has to make a tough decision. When they do, they want to try out different techniques to help them with that decision. So the particular problem we're going to go over is going to go over 5 different techniques. My first video, I will focus on the payback period and the accounting rate of return method. My next videos, I will focus on the other 3 methods, and I'll talk to you about that in that particular video. Okay, so here's the problem we're looking at. It's saying Splash Nation is considering purchasing a water park in Atlanta, Georgia for $1,910,000. The new facility will generate annual net cash inflows of $483,000 for 8 years. Okay, we need all those numbers. So the cash flow is $483,000 per year for 8 years. Engineers estimate that the facility will remain useful for 8 years and have no residual value. We're going to need that when we figure out our depreciation. The company uses the straight line depreciation method, and its stockholders demand an annual rate of return of 10% on investments of this nature. Okay, let's focus on the payback method first. Okay, so the payback method. Here's what it's going to tell us. It's going to tell us the time it takes to recover the initial investment. So, in order to say yes to this investment, we want the payback to be less for the number of years. So, for example, it's 8 years. It needs to be 8 years or less where we will decide, we will say yes for this investment. Okay, here's the strengths. It's easy. Here's the weaknesses. It ignores the time value of money, which I'll go over in another video, and it ignores any cash flows after the payback period, including residual value. Remember, residual value is scrap value. That's what the asset will be worth at the end of its life. Okay, so here's how you do it. Your numerator will be the initial amount invested. Your denominator will be the expected annual net cash inflow. All right, so we just go to the problem. All right, what was the initial amount invested? It's $1,910,000. And then we divide that by the expected annual cash inflow, and this particular problem said it was $483,000. We divide that out. These are dollars, divide that out, and it is 4 point some odd numbers. Bottom line is round to the nearest dollar, so your answer is 4 years. So always round to the nearest whole number when you work on the payback period. All right, now we're going to go to the accounting rate of return, and this one is more steps than the payback period. All right, so let's first focus on the accounting rate of return. What is it going to tell? How the investment will affect operating income. So this one, we're going to look at operating income strengths. It's the only method that uses accrual accounting. It measures profitability over the asset's entire life. Its weakness, again, just like payback, it ignores the time value of money. All right, so how do you do it? Well, there's a lot more steps than the payback period. I will tell you there's different ways to do this. I am going to focus on the same way that your textbook teaches you as well. All right, so the first thing we have to figure out is we have to figure out the total net cash inflows during the operating life of the facility. All right, so they said that the operating life is 8 years. So you're going to take $483,000. Let me kind of write this here. And you'll multiply it by 8. What does that equal? Here's your number here, 3,864,000. So the total net cash flows during the operating life, that's how you will always get that number. All right, next, we're going to take the total depreciation. Let me go over here. So the initial amount invested, okay, is 1,910,000. I'm running out of room here to show you this. So let me just remind you, I'm going to go over here. Let me remind you that depreciation is always cost minus residual value divided by the life of the asset. Okay, so cost minus residual value. We are going to look, this particular problem, it did not say any residual value. So your answer is 0. So you will take the cost, so let me kind of write this, I'm running out of room. Right here, the cost is 1,910,000 minus 0, divide that by the number of years. Okay. All right, so let me go over here. So the amount invested. So the bottom line is the total, the cost minus residual value is the total amount of depreciation equals 1,910,000. Okay? This particular problem did not have residual value. If you did, you would take that into account. All right, so now let me go over here and let's put in the numbers. So we're going to do the amount invested, 109.10. And we would normally add the residual value, but that's 0. Okay, and then we're going to get that answer and divide it by 2 because we're trying to get the average amount. So we take 1,910,000 minus 0, plus 0, and we're going to divide that by 2, and that gives us 955,000. Okay? All right, so then I'm going to go back over here. My total depreciation, though, we're not going to take the average at this time, so the total depreciation right here is going to flow down, and that's 1,910,000. We'll use that number later on, okay? All right, so right now we're going to take 3,864,000 minus 1,910,000. That gives me 1,954,000. Next, I'm going to divide by the operating life in years. This particular problem, they said it was 8 years. I divide that, 1,954,000 divided by 8 gives me 244,250. Okay, what is that number? That's the average annual operating income. All right, so now I'm finally ready to figure out the final number. Okay, to figure out the final number, I'm going to input this right here. So I'm going to take 244,250. That's my numerator. My denominator is the average amount invested. That is right here. So one more time, let me revisit that. How did we get that number? We took the average amount invested plus if there's any residual value. There wasn't in this problem. 0. And then we divide that by 2. So 1,910,000 divided by 2 gives us 955,000. I take 955. I'm almost there. The particular problem says round to the nearest tenth or round to one place after the decimal point. Convert your number to a percent. Your final answer is 25.6%. So remember that for the lab. Read the problem. Where does it say it around? Okay? All right. So again, I'm going to have separate videos for this because this problem encompasses the entire chapter. Okay? All right, I'll see you soon.